What if I told you that there's a tool that you have access to that can increase your investment returns and reduce your risk? Sounds too good to be true, right? Well, that tool is leverage. If used correctly, leverage can be a powerful wealth builder, and most people have no idea it even exists. So what exactly is leverage? Well, at its core, leverage simply means using borrowed money to buy an asset that produces income or grows in value. And the truth is, every wealthy person, from real estate investors to business owners, use leverage to improve their returns. And you probably already use it too. A mortgage, a car loan, even a credit card, these are all forms of leverage. But the real difference that separates the wealthy from everyone else is how they actually use leverage to their advantage. And to understand this, let's first bust a giant myth. We've been taught that all debt is bad. And sure, consumer debt, credit cards, personal loans can destroy wealth. But in the world of investing, saying all debt is bad is like saying all fire is bad. A fire can burn down your house for sure, or it can power a locomotive across a continent. So how can you harness the power of debt? The key is to use debt to buy an asset that makes more money than the cost of borrowing. For instance, if you borrow $100,000 on 6% interest, you want to make sure that the asset that you buy produces more than 6% in cash flow. That way, you can pay the bank the 6% and keep the difference. Now, maybe that 2% spread doesn't sound so exciting, but just wait, it gets better. Imagine you have $100,000 in cash. You find a small apartment for sale that costs exactly $100,000. So you buy it outright with no loan and you rent it out, and after all your expenses, you make a net profit of $8,000 a year. Well, that's an 8% return on your investment. And this is called an unleveraged investment. And in real estate, we use the term cash on cash to describe this type of return. Now, the formula for cash on cash is annual cash flow after debt divided by the total cash invested, which in this case is $8,000 divided by $100,000, or 8%. Now, 8% is not bad at all, but let's apply leverage for financing. What if instead of buying that one apartment, you use your same $100,000 as a 20% down payment on 5 different apartments, each costing $100,000? You'd now control $500,000 worth of property using $100,000 of your own money and $400,000 borrowed from the bank. Now let's say each of those 5 apartments also brings in $8,000 of profit. That's a total profit of $40,000. Of course, you have to pay the bank its interest, and let's say the interest on that $400,000 loan is $20,000 for the year. So you take your $40,000 profit, subtract the $20,000 in interest, and you're left with a net profit of $20,000. So now your cash on cash is $20,000 over $100,000, or 20%. Now let that sink in. In the first scenario, your $100,000 made you $8,000. In the second scenario, your exact same $100,000 investment made you $20,000. Your return on investment just went from 8% to 20%. You more than doubled your return simply by using the bank's money. Now you might ask, couldn't you just raise the money from partners instead of borrowing from a bank? Yes, of course you could, but that is equity, not debt. And equity means ownership. Partners and investors share in the risks and benefits of ownership, which means that they're entitled to a share of the revenue and profits. So let's see what would happen in the previous scenario. If you and 4 partners each invest $100,000, you'd still control $500,000 in property, but your profits would be split 5 ways. And if each of those properties brought in $8,000 of profit, that would be $40,000. Now you have no debt to pay off, but you have to pay all your partners an equal share, or $8,000 each. So you're back to the 8% return on your $100,000. That's why debt is usually cheaper than equity. You pay the bank a fixed interest rate instead of sharing the profits forever. Think about it this way. If you bought a house as a rental property, would you rather pay the bank interest or give the bank partial ownership of your house? Most likely you prefer to pay interest because you don't want to share all the rental payments and profits at the time of sale. So now you see how debt can massively improve your return on investment. But that's not even the whole story. Not only did you amplify returns, but you also reduced risk. First, by getting the bank to front most of the cash, and secondly, by spreading your investment across 5 properties instead of 1. Plus, the interest on the mortgage is typically tax deductible, which boosts your after-tax returns. And finally, using debt provides flexibility. Using the bank's money means you have more cash available for expenses and other investments. So that's the power of leverage in a nutshell. Use borrowed money to increase the potential returns and decrease risk. Now, if that wasn't enough to to convince you. Wait till you see this. Here's a visual comparison between the returns on the asset alone and on the equity investment using leverage. And as you can see, it's so different. And the reason, again, is because the total return on the asset is divided by the cash invested, or the equity. And the smaller the invested amount, the greater the leverage and the greater the returns. So what we're really talking about is this equation, which is the return on equity. Return on equity is calculated with the cash flow, principal paydown, and the appreciation divided by the total equity. In this example, the property's total return is only about 3 or 4%, but with leverage, the return on equity becomes 14 to 15%. The amount you borrow also makes a huge difference. Take a look at this chart, and you can see how the return on equity changes dramatically with the loan to value. So it's 0% loan to value, which means you haven't borrowed any money and you're investing all of your cash. The returns are modest, around 3 to 4%. But let's say you invest 50% of your own cash and 50% of the bank's. The returns accelerate significantly because the leverage magnifies the gain on your smaller equity base or cash investment. Now, if you go to 90% loan to value, the line steepens. This means you've only invested 10% of the required amount to purchase a property. So the profit is divided by a much smaller investment amount. And of course, this yields a much higher cash on cash. That all sounds great, right? What could possibly go wrong? Well, a lot can go wrong. You see, leverage is a double-edged sword. It magnifies gains, but it also magnifies losses. Let's look at what happens when property values fluctuate. Property values appreciate plus 4%. The higher leverage boosts returns dramatically, turning a modest property gain into double-digit returns. But in the case that property values decline by 5 to 10%, that same leverage turns small losses into massive losses on equity, especially at the higher leverage points of 75 to 90%. We can look at our equation again on return on equity: cash flow, principal paydown, and appreciation. So if any of the numbers in the numerator are decreasing, you are going to have a lower return on your investment. If you want a real-time case study of what happens when leverage turns an asset into a liability, just look at what's happening in commercial real estate today. From 2010 to 2021, interest rates were historically low, and banks were eager to lend. So developers used massive amounts of leverage, sometimes borrowing 70, 80, even 90% of a project's cost because the math worked. As long as property values kept climbing and rents were covering the debt payments, everyone looked like a genius. But leverage only works when those underlying assumptions hold. And then when interest rates spiked in 2022 and 2023, the math broke down. Suddenly, loans that were at 3% interest needed to be refinanced at 7% or more. Properties that were purchased at peak valuations started to fall in value, leaving the owners with loans bigger than the properties themselves were worth. Let's look at our return on equity equation again. We have cash flow, principal paydown, and appreciation. Well, rents stagnating, vacancies rising impact cash flow, and interest rates rising impacted the principal paydown, and market values declining impacted appreciation. So all of that led to lower returns on investment. Even solid operators had to hand the keys back to lenders, not because their buildings stopped making money, but because their debt payments doubled. Leverage, essentially, is neither good nor bad, but it is a force multiplier. Use it wisely and it accelerates wealth creation. Use it recklessly and it magnifies losses. That's why if you want to be a passive investor, it's really important to get educated in how these things work. And if you want to learn more about commercial real estate and how to invest in syndications, make sure to download my free ebook below. And make sure to watch this next video on why high income earners don't make very good investors. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.